All right, good morning. Welcome everyone to our commissioners meeting for May 7th. Let's all stand. Let's pray. Father, we thank you, Lord, for blessing us to come out again to conduct the business of the county. We thank you, Lord, for all that have come. We ask your blessings upon this meeting, that we'll do things decently and in order, and we thank you for the privilege to serve. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first order of business would be the approval of our minutes from March 24th, April 2nd, and April 21st. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I've got a couple of misspellings that I'd like to just hand those over to Melissa later.
Okay.
Other than that, I move that they be approved as presented.
Second. All right, the motion is second that the minutes of March 24th, 2014, April 2nd, and April 21st be approved as presented. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda would be the approval of the agenda. I think we've got two adjustments we want to make. Item 9 would be the proposed amendment to the Gates County water billing policy.
So that would be 9C.
Okay.
Probably needs to be 8. So.
That's supposed to be 8.
Do we have an adjustment, another sheet? We got 8 on mine.
So 8 before on the back.
I think we make it 8 and make it 8. 8A.
8A or 8, yeah.
Well, right. Under 8, you have 7, 8, and then you have 9.
Okay.
So what you've got is 8, 9. You got 8, 7, Roman number 8.
7, 8, 8.
That was the misunderstanding, because there's a Roman numeral 9 on the back. We just did 9.
No 9 exists in America.
Number 9.
So it's 9 exists. So we make this 9?
Make that 9.
Okay, good. All right, I got you.
And item 10 would be the budget amendment to the Gates County water billing policy. Okay, same. I'm sorry.
Budget memo cooperative extension.
Yes, cooperative section. All right, any other adjustments?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion second, all in favor, aye? Aye. All opposed, nay. All right, the next item will be our delegations, the citizens' comments. And the first one would be Mr. Bailey.
Okay. Caught me unawares there, then. Good morning.
Morning.
to everyone. First, I want to review some things for the benefit of Mr. Felton and Mr. Whitney, who were not on the board back in July of last year. Starting in May of 2013, there was a ad hoc advisory committee formed in the county to advise the Board of Commissioners on and make recommendations on the animal control statute and ordinance, which is in effect now, that was dated 2009. Starting in July of last year, with 7 recommendations, we gave them different sections of the code that needed to be clarified because of language that was conflicting within the code itself, and asked that they change that. We asked that they change some of the definitions within the ordinance so that they fell in line with what the North Carolina state law used for definitions. We asked them to provide the county with animal cruelty investigators to be appointed by the board. We asked them to change the definition of what an owner was so that it complied with what the state of North Carolina defines it as. We asked them not to allow private citizens to perform operations on animals that would normally be done by a qualified caregiver, such as a shelter or a vet. This would include spay, neutering, ear cropping, rabies shots, and other vaccinations. Now, this is with the understanding that there are people in the agricultural business who do vaccinations and shots. That would not, we're not talking about that, we're talking about domestic animals. Provide assistance for impounded large animals, horses, cows, llamas, because we do have llamas in this county. That type of thing be handled through an outfit called the Humane Society of America. When they did the raid on the house off of 32 and confiscated 40 some dogs and cats and other animals, this was the people that came in and helped with that. They also do large animal rescue. Since we do not have a facility within this county to handle that, our recommendation was is that if that happens, these are the people we get in touch with. Also to provide for petition of forfeiture. What a petition of forfeiture does is it gives the county the right to ask the owner of an animal where there's been found a case of animal cruelty to either claim the animal and pay a fine once it's been through court, or they can forfeit their rights of ownership to the animal, turn the animal over to the county, and then the county can do whatever they want with it. And we have found in the past that a lot of times, and this is from talking to the district attorney and the assistant district attorney, when this case goes to court and a fine is set, the appeal process, it takes forever to get any type of fine or penalty paid. So we're asking for that. And there's other recommendations in here. I won't go into all of them. The only thing that I would ask is that the recommendation number 12, which was talking about animal enclosures within the county. There is already a statute on the books on the North Carolina state statutes which covers this, so you can delete that and just apply whatever the North Carolina statute is. My question is this. We turned all these recommendations starting in July of last year over to you folks. We met with the sheriff's department. We met with the animal control people. We met with the person who runs the animal shelter. We met with the district attorney. And we met with the then county manager, Mr. Mendenhall, and complied with every request that this board had given us in order to make these recommendations. The final recommendations were turned over to this board back in November of last year. I, as the chairman of that committee, have not heard any response back from this board concerning any of these recommendations, and would like to know why. Anyone like to answer that?
Well, can't say why right now, but we do know that if they were turned over to the county manager, that the county manager should have followed up on it. Why it was not done, I don't know.
Well, let's blame John, because he's not here to defend himself.
Well, I don't know
Okay.
the circumstances. I
Okay.
mean, there may be a reason, it may not be a reason why they were not implemented, but we'd have to take a look at it.
Again,
Well, we've got interim county manager Ken Winley, certainly he'll look at it and see why it was not got back to the board as to ready to be implemented, but we'll certainly take a look at that.
when is the new budget? September this year or July? I'm sorry, July, right? Okay. So some type of action needs to be taken before then, so if there's monetary issues with this, that they can be included in that new budget.
Well, what we can do is, we'll have Melissa and Ken make sure that's an agenda item on our next meeting.
When is the next meeting?
We have a night meeting on the 19th, and we also have,
I won't be available for that.
well, we'll probably address it on the 7th, June 7th meeting.
Okay,
All right.
and so that's the answer, that nobody knows anything about it.
Well, there again, it would have gone to the county manager.
Okay?
The county manager's not here. So right now, I cannot say that he dropped the ball, because I don't know the circumstances. There may have been some things that prevented it from going forward, I don't know. But we're gonna certainly take a look at it. And once we take a look at it, we will have an answer, and we can move forward on it if we can move forward on it.
So between July of last year and January, February of this year, when Mr. Mendenhall left, nothing was done?
I can't say that. I don't know what he's done.
Well, as far as I know, nothing was done, because if it was, I was not notified. Now, in all fairness, I gave these recommendations to Mr. Whitley this morning, since he was out of town yesterday. So he really hasn't had a chance to look at them yet. But, you know, when you guys ask people to volunteer to be on a committee to help this board, and then you basically ignore them for 6 months, that's why you have a hard time getting people on advisory boards. You need to take that into consideration, okay?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I spoke with Doug on Saturday, and he did exactly what I asked him to do, and that was,
I've always done what you guys have asked. Now I'm waiting for you to do what I've asked you to do.
that was to give some information to Mr. Wendley, so he could lead us going forward on it. And I did tell Doug that because the budget would be finalized here soon, that I knew there might be a couple of budget items on there that we would need to address. And so I appreciate him bringing that to us today. We do need to act on it.
Let me ask you a question. The items that don't require a budget change, okay? Can they be acted on before the budget is approved or disapproved? The changes in the wording, for example?
Yeah, we might be able to act on it by the 19th meeting. But the first thing has to be done is we've got to take a look at what the recommendations are again, make sure that we all agree that they are something that can be changed.
Okay.
And once we do that, we can do it probably at the 19th meeting.
Mr. Jordan, Mr. Bailey, I believe you came before us and presented these back, you said in November.
Yes, ma'am.
Didn't you say some of them were your recommendations and not the committee's recommendations at that point?
I don't remember saying that.
I was thinking that you said that at the end, that with very few people attending.
That's correct. That's correct.
Did you have a quorum?
We had a quorum up until the November meeting, as far as I know. Okay? When people dropped off of that committee, the reason they dropped off is because they weren't getting any response back from you guys. We made recommendations and heard absolutely nothing back from anybody.
But we didn't, I mean, recommendations were not finalized until November, so I mean, we couldn't have responded before that.
But we do appreciate the work the committee did. And we do want to incorporate whatever's been presented that can be incorporated, because that's why it was formed.
Okay?
And we do apologize.
But do you understand where I'm coming from with this? This has been almost 10 months.
And I would hope that you can recognize that there has been some transitions.
I understand that.
And,
I understand that.
and so-
But I know that this board can enact ordinances and establish policies very quickly when they want to do it, and have done in the past. Okay, so you understand where I'm coming from. If you can do it for that, you can do it for this too.
We will definitely make this a priority.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Yes. Lauren Wiggins.
This has to do with zoning on Roundtree Lane, with the spur on Carter Road, and butts up to Perkins Road.
You know?
If I understand correctly, the zoning has to do with manufactured housing down at the end of Roundtree Lane.
Ms. Wiggins, I don't want to interrupt your thought. I just want to give you the opportunity. I don't know if you may want to hold this issue until we go into public hearing, and then you will be directly addressing that issue. Or, I mean, you can keep on, but we're going to go into public hearing for the rezoning a little later in the meeting, and that may be the appropriate time for you to address that.
No problem.
Okay, next item would be to have our announced delegation, which is Extension Agent Mr. Holly.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Every year, the governor has a Governor Volunteer Award program where they recognize outstanding volunteers across the state. And I, as the coordinator for Gates County, market for people to submit applications to recognize their volunteers from their various units. And I would like to highly encourage people in Gates County to recognize their volunteers. We're usually beating the bush trying to find people, and we know we have all sorts of volunteers out here, but it means sitting down and filling out the application to nominate someone. And there are various categories, from groups to individuals, that you can nominate more than one. And I think we can have up to, it's either 5 to 10 that go straight forward without having to have a committee to vote on eliminating some of the applications. So at this point in the game, if you submit, it goes forward, because we have never had that issue where we had so many that we had to eliminate. With that being said, one of the categories is youth. And so this year, our young man, Xavier Roscoe, who is an avid 4-H'er, was nominated, and his application went forward. And the governor picks the medallion group of volunteers, which is about 20 out of the state. And then you get to come to the governor's mansion where he meets you personally, and you get your picture with the governor. So I'd like Xavier Roscoe to come forward. Xavier is one of our 4-Hers that's at the high school. He graduates this year. And throughout his 4-H career, he has been involved in helping in the after-school program, mentoring, helping teach electric workshops. He served as our District 4-H president 2 years ago, and now he's planning on running for State 4-H Council, which would be over the state of North Carolina. Xavier works more in our office sometimes than we feel we work, because he's there keeping us on track. And the other 4-Hers are like, is he getting paid? Because he's down there 40 hours a week. But he's dedicated. We've watched him grow from a young man with limited skills in some areas of leadership to leadership, and to take the ball and run with it if he's put in charge with it. So I would like to recognize Xavier with a pin from the Governor's Volunteer Awards Program. And Melissa, if you get a picture for us. Camera. Okay, and then I got a certificate to go to. And also, this letter came from Governor Pat McCrory. The state of North Carolina is proud to congratulate you on receiving the Governor's Award for volunteer service in the youth category. Your commitment to service has helped make our community a better place, and your spirit of giving will be remembered by those you serve. And this program has been in existence until 1979. And he also received a volunteer service certificate that he can put in his memoirs. So, anything you want to say? Okay.
We congratulate you and commend you for being such a outstanding young man, and looking forward to the future. And we know you'll have great success.
Thank you.
Xavier is planning on going to COA this fall. He wants to be in the emergency room. Hopefully we won't have to meet him in there. But that's his career goals. One other item that I have is, as you know or heard, Cooperative Extension turned 100 years this year. I look good, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, tomorrow will be 100 years we've been in existence. And the USDA, which we're part of, has been advertising it along with North Carolina Cooperative Extension. We had our open house last week with displays and food and door prizes for people to come by. If you didn't get a chance to come, the displays are still up. And please feel free to come, and you'll get to see one of our stars in the room, Ms. Linda Hoffer, a 4-H'er on the 4-H board in 1963, going to 4-H electric conference. And we also have a display in the courthouse. If you notice on the wall is a timeline that shows how we came into existence and how we always have been there to address issues in the community. And as various issues have happened, it shows the response that Extension had to help people improve their quality of life. And as you've heard, we're hoping to be here the next 100 years. And right now they have a visioning team in Raleigh that's looking at how we can survive budget cuts and different changes in society to ensure we stay on the cutting edge. We also have a tree planting this afternoon at 3 o'clock, as soon as you all either finish or take a break, to come to the library, and there'll be a tree planted there in recognition of our birthday, and signage will be put up to say it's with Cooperative Extension 100 years, and everybody's invited to participate in that. And then the last thing that I have is a proclamation that you all should have that comes from the county commissioners for the centennial dated May 2014. So at this time, I would like for you all to sign that.
Rather lengthy. I've only had a chance to look at it. But I'll read the last part. It says, therefore, be it resolved, the Gates County Board of Commissioners recognizes the significance of the Smith-Lever Act to the establishment of the corporate extension nationwide, encourages the people of Gates County to observe and celebrate centennial with a focus on congratulating the accomplishments of the past 100 years and ensuring a thriving future of corporate extension. Honors the local extension agents and university faculty who dedicate careers to providing trusted education to help people, families, youth, businesses, and communities solve problems, develop skills, and build a better future. Thanks Cooperative Extension volunteers who provide thousands of hours to promote excellence for 4-H, Masters Gardeners, Family and Consumer Sciences, and other programs in their communities. It encourages continued collaboration and cooperation among federal, state, and local governments to ensure Cooperative Extension's sustainability as the nation's premier non-formal education network. Celebrates millions of youth, adults, families, farmers, community leaders, and others who engage in corporate extension learning opportunities designed to extend knowledge and change lives. In North Carolina, Gates County, and commend this observance to all, done at the Commissioners meeting in the County of Gates, May 7, 2014. That is the resolution from the facts that are presented. What is the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve the proclamation.
Second.
Motion second, to approve the proclamation. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Get snacks out there?
No comment.
What'd you say?
Snacks gonna be provided?
Yeah, but that's how I can get you there.
Snacks will be provided.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is our administrative reports. Our county manager.
First item on the agenda for my report is the water tank issues in Gatesville. We discovered a leak, and it's going to take several $1,000s to repair that. There's also some repairs we have to do to the fencing around it. We've taken some trees out on the backside of that property to be sure that some of them were leaning, and we don't want them to lean and hit the tank, so we've taken them out also. So we'll be making some repairs to the fencing also and get some of the growth off the fencing. We've had budget meetings with all departments related to the upcoming fiscal year 14-15 budget. That's completed. We've had some job descriptions redone and working with personnel board on that. We've also participated in a couple of transportation planning meetings about improvements through DOT for the highway system and biking and other options for transportation in the county. Modifications to sewer capacity were needed for the assisted living facility at Merchants Commerce Center. And we were able to work that out with Diener to change the gallons per day per bed to a lesser number that they were acceptable with, and that facility could receive. We have obviously staff meetings weekly on a lot of different things, and so we cover those very thoroughly. Of course, I'm continuing to serve the planning board and the board of adjustment as an advisor in place of the county planner, and continue to do that at all of their meetings. We have had some zoning issues come up that I've worked with them on, and a couple of subdivision issues, and they've been taken care of. We did have a 911 grant meeting in Raleigh that Billy and I both attended to be sure that everyone was on the right page for the 911 funds the county will be getting to get new equipment and hopefully possibly move into this room and have a little more space from where they currently are. We have some part-time staff for the cleaning of the maintenance of buildings that we also participated in the interview process, and also keeping track of the historic courthouse improvements and making sure everything continues to follow through on that. We don't want it to just lag behind and things not happen like this year. So we're following through on that, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. County Manager. Any questions? Comments? Got it, okay. All right, Finance Department.
You have all the reports, do you have any questions? I also wasn't here when you were amending the agenda. Is this where we're doing the budget amendment, or is that later? Sorry.
The budget amendment will come later.
Later, okay.
Yes, go ahead.
I was just looking over your financial statements, that some of our expenses are running over.
Yes, ma'am, there are some. Ken and I have already planned to meet next week to go back through this year's budget. We knew there were going to be some shortfalls, and, we discussed that with you over the last couple of months. We were trying to wait to do everything at one time, so in June, you will have several budget amendments to clean up the overages that we need to have.
It's like one is, I was looking at 198% over.
Yes, ma'am.
It's kind of, it's not
Yes, ma'am.
just a few dollars over.
Right, there are several lines that we knew that were cut in the budget that couldn't be, so we've been working to identify the funding sources for those, and we should be able to clean all that up before the end of the year.
Unemployment seems to be a problem. Unemployment insurance on a number of agencies.
And that's partly because of the transition. The state used to be on a pay-behind schedule where they would pay out the benefits and then bill us. Last year, they changed to a system where we pay into it. We pay 1% now of everybody's salaries. But we had to pay in the 1%, and then they also did the final billing in arrears. So we had that money doubled up. Until we got the bill, we didn't know how much that was going to be, so we knew we were going to have to identify some funds to clean that up as well.
When will we expect a final bill on that particular item?
We've already received
You have
it,
received it?
yes. And then this year also, because they started in July, we had to pay the 1% for last calendar year and this calendar year in one fiscal year. So the transition year was this fiscal year, and then going forward, that should be cleaned up. It should not be an issue.
Will we be receiving all those updates in June meeting about
Yes, sir.
the others?
Yes, so the beginning meeting in June, you should have the final amendments for everything for this year.
The postage and telephone in several places that was over. Is there a specific reason for that? The stamps have gone up a little bit.
There were several telephone lines that were cut, and we just didn't have enough budget. We have a contract with CenturyLink that we have to pay, and I know that Reba's is one department that is extremely overspent there, and the money was just not budgeted. And, it was discussed early on, and we knew we were going to have to make some changes. We were hoping by now to have changed our phone system and move forward with updating that and making some changes to that contract, but with the county manager transition, we put that on hold until the new manager comes in as well, so we just have to clean that up.
The amount needed was requested, but it was cut.
Yes, in several departments.
All right. Any other questions for the finance officer? If not, we'll have tax department.
I really don't have anything to report. You have the collector's report there. Our collection rate on our annual bills is a little lower right now than where it was last year, and we're in the process this week of working to get out another notice to delinquent taxpayers. So that will be going out at the end of this week. And however, our overall collection rate is higher than where it was last year, and that's simply because of the motor vehicles. And so unless y'all have any questions with anything, I don't have anything. Ms. Harrell does have 2 refunds that she needs to review with you.
Do you have any progress on Travis Ellis?
We have taken care of the, I believe, has that invoice been paid, Sandy, that one portion
Yes,
of
ma'am.
it? But we still have, I think it's about $3,600 that I'm waiting to get detailed invoices back from, because I had some questions about those figures. And so I haven't received those invoices as of yet.
Any other? All right.
Okay, good morning.
Morning.
Attached to that report, you will find 2 refund requests. The first one was a taxpayer, as it states, that had been garnished through his wages. And then we received funds from the state of North Carolina through our debt set-off program. So these funds had already been paid from his wages, and we're asking for a refund from him on those 3 bills. Should we continue with the,
Yes, we do.
if you have any questions, be glad to answer those. On the other one, this taxpayer, had paid that vehicle bill before we again received funds from the state of North Carolina through the debt set-off program, and there are no taxes due for her. So we're just asking to refund that back to her on that bill.
I move to make both of these refunds.
Second.
Motion second. Refund 2 requests. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye? Aye. All opposed, nay. Okay. All right, in your package, you have our personnel report.
Be right with you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mine got misplaced somewhere.
Have any discussions on the
Normally, we just comment that we've received it, our packet.
All right, we
I'm
have.
talking about actions of the person we're talking about.
No, we'll get to that later.
Okay, okay.
All right, you have the personnel report, departmental reports, any comments? Correspondence. I would bring the board's attention to the correspondence from the Housing Finance Agency. We have a letter in there to our previous county manager informing the board that the 2014 Urgent Repair Program grant was not selected for funding this year. That grant was for $100,000. It was allocated to the Housing Committee. Last year, the Housing Committee received a $75,000 URP grant, but this year, they chose not to do that. The county manager had a phone call with them, and I believe there were some things that we might learn from that we didn't do that may help us in next year. If you haven't got that in a memo yet.
It's going out today.
Okay, so you'll probably get the memo detailing why that grant was not selected for funding. But it was a lot of help to the county last time, and hopefully in the years coming, that we'll be able to get it again. All right, articles of interest and county calendar. Okay. There's no other comments. Our next item will be our public hearing. We have before us a zoning amendment request by Mr. William Roundtree to rezone neighborhood parcels from A1 to RH1. And the information is in your packet. We have the planning board minutes, and I believe it was a recommendation of the planning board to rezone those properties. And at this time, if there's no further discussion, I'll call for a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's got a motion second, we'll go into public hearing, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right, we are in public hearing for the purpose of any citizen or surrounding neighbor that has any concerns or any statements they would like to make about the rezoning of these properties. This is the time that you can do that, whether you're in court or in. But I think Mr. Wiggins this morning, you were up before. Yep.
Thank you. I'll try to keep this just as brief as possible. This zoning matter, we have no problem with the zoning. But where we do have a problem is I own property down that way. And I've already been through this with the North Carolina Department of Transportation. If this property is zoned for manufactured housing, I'm sure that the state is going to insist on improving that road. It's a non-paved road. It's not even a good secondary road. But the folks down there seem to be happy with it. I'm not going to get into that. What I am interested in is this. That I know that if that road is improved significantly, the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to take my land. The second thing they're going to do is increase my taxes. And I'm not at all happy with that. I pay enough. That's all I got to say.
Appreciate it, Mr. Wiggins. All right, any other comments on the Roundtree Lane rezoning?
Yes, all of y'all are gonna know me. First of all, good morning, y'all, everybody here. I'm William Roundtree, and the purpose for me to request this was not intending to hurt anybody. Actually, I own one lot down there which has already been approved for a special permit at this time. And I had, Mr. Jesse Duck has a lot back there. And the reason I put this money up to do this rezoning was primarily for him, to save him money. Because if he ever decided to put a trailer on his lot, he wouldn't have to go through all these hoops that I'm going through. And also, which was something that I didn't know at the time when I applied for this, I think it was changed, I found it out after the fact. There was a time in this county, if someone lived in a mobile home, single wide, double wide, whatever, if it was, sorry about that. If it were destroyed or moved for any reason, they had a limited time that they could put it back. And most of the people dying that way, unless they had absolute insurance, they weren't able to do that. So what were they going to be? They were going to be forced to stick bill or go through this again. And that was one of the reasons. And I find out later that was changed. So that reason, one of the reasons that I had is of no value. And for the thinking of anybody, for the public, to think that I'm gonna go back there and put a mobile home park up, you can forget it, because I don't believe in that. I don't believe in developing in a way that some have in the past. Because at this time, somebody wants me bad. At this time, around the county, there's so many houses for sale, 50 cents on the dollar. You can buy them all day long cheaper than to develop a lot. And I know that. So I'm not in the developing phase. And as far as the road's concerned, I respect what Jeff said, but when the time comes, the road's gonna be paid regardless. You know, when the state gets enough money and decided, hey, I remember almost 20 years ago, it was in the Gates County Index that all roads would be paid in 10 years. We all remember that. What has happened? The money's not there. They put it in bridges and stuff like that, which was more important. But that time will come again, whether we're living to see it or not, that all roads will be paid. And there's not many left in Gates County that aren't, and it's just for certain reasons of people not signing. And, you know, I realize what Jeff is saying, and as far as them taking his land, they're not gonna take what he thinks they're gonna take, because the right of way is already there. All they're gonna do is reshape the ditches and probably improve the whole road as far as ditches. And I know there's a couple people down there that haven't signed, he's one of them, and I believe the Carter land. But everybody else is in agreement and have been for 15 years. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I came in to put this money up for one particular lot, which was approved, but I proceeded on with the rest of it. It was presented to the board, went to the Board of Commissioners. Some of the information wasn't correct, so I understood, and it went back to the board, and here we are now. So, and the only person that had an opposition at the time was Ron Kirkland, and that was because of a misunderstanding about a ditch. He thought there's I call it a blue line ditch, which can't be moved, it runs through my property, and he really thought that I was gonna cover it up and rearrange it for my purpose. And I said, and my cousin also owns the adjacent property, and he thought the same thing, but I explained it to him. I said, you sent this information out in the wrong way to these people. I said, a ditch running through a piece of property has no bearing on whether you're gonna put a home down or not, so long as all the distances are there, and which they are. And of course, Ron apologized, and he went and talked to all of his neighbors, and that's why none of them are here today. That was the only opposition. And it's not like this area is gonna be developed and, you know, there's gonna be a Metropolis Core Peak Trailer Park or anything. It's just for the existing people. Everything else is agriculture back there, and that's the way it's gonna stay. I guess that's all I got to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to say something about it. Chuck Brothers, Vice Chair of the Planning Board, I will tell you that this was a topic that came across a couple of times. As William said, there was some information that went out to the public, and Mr. Kirkland did come to our meeting the first time. The ditch was his major concern. When he came back the second time, we had nobody from the area that was there. I did carry my education a little bit further by calling Lee Padrick, who I'm sure Linda recalls is with Community Development in Little Washington, and asked his opinion based on the percentages of the structures that are there and how it should be rezoned, and that gave me the validation at our meeting to try to push this to the direction that y'all have today. So it is applicable to rezone it to what is asked for. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Hi, how you doing?
Morning.
My name is Doris, and I stay back there. And everybody back there said that they didn't want the land rezoned because they feel, you know, that if you taking part of our land. And so we are very close to the pad. So if they take part of our land, we won't have hardly nothing, because we already have an acre of land, I have an acre. So everybody I talked to that, they said they didn't want
What's your last name?
Smith, Doris Smith. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, if there's no one else, we'll call for a motion to come out of public hearing.
So moved.
Motion second, all in favor? Aye? Aye. Okay. All right, we have a public hearing. We have before us the request that we have. The last time that this came before the board, the major concern the board had was that would it be considered spot zoning if we did one parcel. And in order to be able to rezone it, since there were a number of parcels back there that already had mobile homes on them, that we could do it as a rezoning of the area, including the other homes, and that would not constitute spot zoning. So we've notified the homeowners that live in the immediate area. We've heard from them, and heard the pros and heard the cons. I just would like to note that as far as the taking of land, it's been brought to my attention, and I do recall this, that DOT does not take the right-of-way without the land being donated by the landowners. I think there's a dirt road off of Taylor Road, Old Taylor Road, right, that has that same issue. And they won't widen it because several of the landowners will not give their property or approve their property to be donated for that widening. So I think that is a catch-all in that. So we've heard the pros and cons. I think we do need to look at it as what's best for everyone, is the way we see it. Is it going to be an improvement for the county and for all of those who are there or they come there? So I'm going to open it up for discussion among the board now.
I wanted to ask Chuck if he would give us a little bit more. I'd like to ask Lee Patrick, that you sought for some advice. It was on a specific issue,
Well,
more than one issue.
Lee had come to the planning board as well as one of his associates on a couple of times as educational and endeavors to give us personal training. And first time we met Lee was in an issue that was very similar to what Mr. Roundtree had talked about, where what was the best zoning for the input of in that specific request. So there's 10 parcels on the east side. Correct me if I'm wrong, William. I think Williams makes the 10th parcel. There's 10 parcels on the east side of Roundtree Lane that are either single wide or vacant lot, which Williams is a vacant lot at this time, and or double wides. So my question to Lee was, the rule of thumb that I thought I heard from him in one of our trainings, that if the greater of the percentages dictates, or what's there dictates what the zoning should be. So my question to him was, we got 10 parcels, one is vacant, this is what's there. Am I right in assuming that we should position this to RMH1? And he said, you were right in your thought process.
Thank you, Chuck.
On this zoning map, the 10 parcels we're talking about are the ones that are numbered, correct?
That's right.
We're not talking about any of the land.
None of the Lewis land, none of the Carter land. There is
Or the
a
Beasley Farm.
partnership.
from Wake Forest?
None of that. It's just the 10 individual parcels, if I'm right, Mr. Lemon.
And including the empty lot that's there as well.
That's correct. There is one stick-built structure that's on the west side of the road that I believe belongs
Todd Lewis.
to Todd Lewis that was built for an employee. That is not included in this request. It's everything on the east side of the road that's conducive to the structures that are there. Not behind the lots as well, which is Trotman, Dennis Trotman, if I remember correctly.
I've heard a couple of the neighbors down here that sound like they're not entirely in favor of having their property rezoned. And I commend William for what he's trying to do to help Mr. Duck down the road. I understand that. I know Mr. Duck. But I have a problem with it being ethical. Now, I know it's legal. I have a problem with it being ethical that one person has the right to rezone someone else's property or request that someone else's property be rezoned. And that doesn't matter whether it's on Rifle Lane or Coral Peak or where it is. I just have a problem with one person dictating to another person how to zone their property.
I think the zoning ordinance, section 1403 allows the planning board, the commissioners, or a citizen to request a zoning change. So, as you pointed out, it's legal. It is by the regulations that we have in place. Whether it's desirable or not, that's something else.
Mr. Chairman, would it be permissible to add a footnote? Mr. Felton, when all this started, Mr. Roundtree's application was for his lot specific, but the language in his first application advised the process that it would be applicable to rezone the whole area in its entirety based on the structures that were there. So he did specifically ask for his lot in the original application. The planning board, through the process of, number one, us taking it up, then it went to y'all, and then it came back to us to look at the entirety. So that's what we did, was look at it in its entirety. William did start the process of making the recommendation, I guess, in his notes in it, but it was the planning board. And I will say that Mr. Roundtree was not present at our last board to emphasize this. So it was a board decision with no public input at the last meeting, none.
Ms. McGinnis, lot 10, we're looking at the tax ID number there, 10-027. I don't expect you to memorize it anyway, but in the notes there, it's got Mr. Duck's name by it. Is it in Mr. Duck's name already?
Yes, that lot is.
Okay.
Well, I think the issue is that there's concern that property owners could lose land if we go forward with this. And if the information that I'm being provided is true, then that's not an issue. And I think if we could take that off the board, we could possibly move forward with this, where it really wouldn't affect anyone. I don't know the regulation that states this, but I've heard this before. And I know years ago, if the state decided they wanted to widen the road, if they had the approval of, I don't know how many landowners, they could go ahead and do it, and those that opposed, then the majority ruled, and theirs was taken as well.
We have Gray Road that has not been paid because of one landowner.
Right.
State road.
So, and saying,
Everybody signed off.
and saying that, I know Mr. Williams and Smith has spoken to that issue. that would be taken off the table. If you never agreed, if you held out and said, no, I don't want my land, I'm not gonna sign for you to use my land as a right-of-way, then your land would never be taken. So I think that, you know, we can resolve that issue. Future owners or vacant lots, every time you apply for a special use permit, that's $500, is that right? And many times it comes before the board that you know, it's a little bit high. You know, what can we do? Sometimes it's asked to be waived and so forth. But there are administrative costs when we have to issue a special use permit. And when you can rezone an area that's already there, basically, it really relieves that problem. It relieves future landowners of having to go through that because it's already approved. So, you know, I'm inclined to believe that, you know, the rezoning, it really is not going to affect the issues that there's a lot of concern with. But of course, this is a board decision. And
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask Chuck if he would tell us, was your recommendation unanimous?
Yes.
It was.
Can I add something?
sure.
It's kind of about the road thing. Let me ask the general public a question. You ride your car everywhere you go on a paved road. Did you ever stop to think that somewhere in the past, someone like me or someone like all of y'all gave up some property so you could have this opportunity to ride on a nice road and not tear your car to pieces? And that's not even the issue I come in here for. I mean, I gave up property the whole way down Carter Loop Road and Horace Carter Road, which now I own everything on the whole road, which is except for what Dennis Trotman owned. And this was given up years ago for everyone to drive on. And see, when it comes in your own backyard, and I know with the actual property that it will take, when they widen the road, they don't, all they do is they go through there and they put the whatever the state says, which is a 50-foot right-of-way, which is already there. All they're gonna do is reconstruct the ditches and you'll have a nice slick road. And that's not the issue I'm in here for anyway. That's just to answer the question on the people that think they're taking their land.
All right, thank you. And let me just remind you, this is a public hearing that you're addressing to the commissioners. Any question, any comments that need to be made to the commissioners, not to the general public, because we're not going to have a public discussion. This is not a public discussion, this is to the commissioners. Anyone that wants to respond to your comment to the commissioners, you're welcome to do so. But we don't have any discussions among the public. All right?
May I make a
Yes,
comment? My name's Dan Badenmore, I'm from the Hall Township. And if I recall correctly, my memory serves me right, some years ago before we had this zoning, we had a planning board at that time. And then we went through a number of meetings and discussed a number of issues. At those meetings, quite often, the public was misinformed. Information was held back from the public that was there asking questions. The then people in charge of the office, that a number of people requested to be terminated, to include a member of the planning board, requested in closed session for the individual to be given a bus ticket out of Gates County. In other words, get rid of it. Because he was not telling the truth to the people. So the people began to be involved. They came here to the county and started digging for information. and in accordance to the law on the Information Act, they could request that information. They got that information and found out that they were being hoodwinked. Now what does hoodwink mean? That means that you're not being told the truth or something is being hid from you. You're blinded. You're blinded from the information. So then they came there and they wanted to rush this thing in to get this on and to start with it. Made comments of saying, well, we'll go ahead and get it in effect, and then we charge you $600 if you want to change something. Well, the time to get it right was then. Would you not agree? Get it right before you put it in effect, as much as you can. Stop the after effects so much. We were never even told that if you had 10 acres, that it would not be considered spot zoning. We had to find out ourselves. Now, those people should have told us that up front. They did not. Now, a number of people with 10 or more acres could have requested at that time, according to what was put out to us, that we could go before them and it would be zoned in accordance to the way that we wanted it zoned, meaning the landowner, providing you had the amount of acreage that it would not be considered spot zoning. Well, some personal friends of mine came here with 70-some acres and requested something to be zoned. He was told it was going to be zoned there. Today, it's still not zoned there. It was on agriculture. He wanted to zone commercial. He got the prime land of Gates County for development on 13. And some comments is made that the state will not take your property. And this same gentleman has got a case going on with the state because they have not paid him for his property that is on 13, and they're going to be using a part of it, and that's going to go before the courts. So there is a way that the state can condemn your property and get it. I can quote the man's name if I need to do so. Now, then you're talking about 10 acres. If these are 10 or more acres that is back there that we're talking about in today's issue, then that would not be spot zoning according to the rules, 10 or more acres. But it should be in accordance with what the majority wants. But should it not have been zoned, being that 9 out of 10 houses is either double-wise or single-wise, should it not have been zoned RHM1 to start with, before the zoning even come in effect, and been that way from get-go instead of A1? That's the question. Did the county flop by not making sure that these areas were zoned in accordance to where it was supposed to? There were 13 people from my neighborhood come here. Took commissioners around and hauled them. Showed them. Okay, here's 64 double-wide, single-wides. 41 thick-built houses. What should that have been zoned? If you're going by the majority. Shouldn't it have been zoned RHM1? It wasn't. It was zoned residential. So is that another issue that was a plot that it should have been zoned for what it really was, the majority? So now we need to look at what we've dealt with today. What is at hand? And say that we can go back and make things right. Now those people at that time that lived back there would have still have had the right to come before you, but it would have been zoned as RHM1. Then they could have come before you and say, well, I wanted something else. Because I got residential property, and if I wanted to zone something else, what I had to do? Come before you. And pay the fee, go through the procedure. this same issue you're dealing with here today, is it not? So look at it, think about it, and say, hey, look, maybe we should have did this to start with, and let that be some of the persuasion of your decision making. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone else? All right, this is before us. And legally, you know, we have one of the homeowners, one homeowner and one landowner represented today. The others are not here. And like I said, the last time the issue was spot zoning, we've taken care of that because that's not spot zoning now. County Manager, do you have any input?
The only input I have is that, related to one comment, DOT cannot condemn secondary road right-of-way. They can condemn other types like US highways and NC highways and things like that, but that's not that's not the law on secondary road.
Good, thank you.
Any decision that we make, we're not trying to make a decision to hurt any of our landowners, our property owners, our citizens. And all the decisions that we make for the best interest of the county. And many times, those decisions are not popular with everyone, but certainly when we leave here at the end of the day, we want to say that we did what was best. And as I see it, what we were looking for was to be able to rezone the whole area, to make it better for those who may come behind. The points that's been brought up, concerned with the taking of property, I think they are addressed. I think from a moving forward position, I think it would right a wrong that Mr. Bates pointed out. You know, none of us was satisfied with the initial zoning ordinance, but we inherited it. We've got what we've got. We've got to work with what we've got, and we've got to make it right as much as we can when we can. So, in view of that, I think we should be ready to move forward with making a motion to address the rezoning request. The fee has been paid, the notices have gone out, the comments have been made, and I think they've been addressed. I think we're at a point now where we need to go ahead and make a decision. What's best for the county and for our citizens.
Mr. Chairman, we'll be making our motion in the hearing, outside the hearing.
Well, the hearing, we're out of the hearing. Are we in? Come out of the hearing yet?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we're out of the hearing, so the motion that we make, we will act on it, and that will be the final decision.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a comment before the motion's made. Mr. Wiggins, when he stood before us, I believe he indicated he was not in opposition, but he did have concern.
That's correct.
And that's the way he stated that. And Ms. Smith back there, her concern was about probability or the fear that she might lose some of her acreage. And Mr. Windley has got us on the right track with the way that rule reads, and I believe that I've been in that situation before. One person didn't agree and the road was not paved. On a personal side, I've been through that. So that rule still applies. I think that might do away with the concern that Ms. Smith has. I do want to thank Mr. Roundtree. I know the Duck family very well, and I know that he is trying to help them when he comes sort of as their representative in a way. In the future, it would be good that the landowner, the homeowner, if they're able to physically make it to the meeting, it'd be great to have them sitting here before us. And those are my comments. I'll wait to see if anybody else has any.
No, I was on the planning board, and, you know, there are some problems with the planning, but also some of the things have changed since the planning was initiated first at the very beginning. And this was one that we probably can't do, but I was just noticing, it was A1, so you are permitted to have mobile homes on A1 property, agricultural. It's not.
By special use.
Yeah, by special use. So, I mean, it was not, I mean, they could be there legally, it's not that problem. But certainly, thank you for bringing it to our attention, and it is a way to get something properly zoned, even though it's not exactly improperly zoned with the special use, but anyway, they're clarified.
And that was our recommendation last time it came before us, was to go forward with the special use permit, and I think that was not a problem with that. And I don't have any problem with the area being rezoned as RMH1. My problem is just a general problem, not for Mr. Reinfeldt whatsoever. It's just that it goes against my beliefs that one man should be able to control another man's property. Well, it doesn't matter where it is.
Mr. Chairman? I move that we approve the zoning recommended to us by the planning board.
I second the motion.
Motion second, that we approve the recommended rezoning. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Have a unanimous decision. We'll get that recorded, documented, and follow through updating the GIS as we go. Thank you all for your input. The next item on our agenda will be our personnel committee recommendations.
Mr. Chairman, the first item on the agenda that the personnel committee reviewed is flex time policy. Currently, the policy requires flex time earned to be used within the month it's earned. If it's earned at a busy time, the end of the month, the employee usually never gets to use it. The committee voted to recommend that if flex time is earned in one pay period or month, it must be used by the end of the next pay period or month. For example, if flex time is earned in March, it must be used by April 30th or it is lost. Basically, what it does, it doesn't create issues for the department or by making this change, or the individual. The individual has time to take it off, and they have time to take it off during a period when they're not under stress and a whole lot of work going on. They can take it at a slow time.
Okay, we have the
Mr. Chairman, are we going to do these one at a time or as a group?
we can do them as a group. You want to move all?
Okay. The next one, the Veterans Day holiday, the committee voted to recommend the personal ordinance be formally amended to include this holiday, which is obviously November 11th. So that would be included as an observed holiday. It's being observed, it just wasn't in the personnel ordinance. The Christmas holiday, there was some confusion about which days off or when Christmas fell on certain days. And the committee voted to use the same holiday schedule as the state, except that when the state does not provide for 3 days off. So when Christmas falls on, for example, the day on a Monday, you'd have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday off, and so forth on down. And these are the typical days that counties give off when Christmas falls on certain days. The last item is Nathan Reddick is the senior facilities technician with 5 years experience. He recently informed me that Chilliwack County was recruiting him and offered him about a $3,000 pay increase. I checked and the starting salary was $24,750. Not wanting to lose a valuable employee like him, I investigated the starting salaries of similar positions in the counties used in the pay plan. And his current salary of $22,089, Rowan $28,000, Paquin was $25,000, Stanley $24,987, and 2-1-24-750. So the committee recommends that Nathan be moved to a grade 12, step 1, from grade 12, step 1 to grade 14, step 2, at a salary of $24,886, which should be the grade for this position. Basically, the salary that was put into the pay plan basically was not correct. And our investigation basically proved that out. So, in an effort to keep a valuable employee like that and to pay him what's competitive, that's what the committee came up with.
Okay. You've heard the 3 items, recommendations from the Personnel Board regarding flex time, the holiday pay, and the employee increase. Are there any discussion? What is the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion that we approve all recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion, a second to approve the recommendations. All in favor, aye? Aye. All opposed, nay. Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. County Manager.
Thank you, sir.
Let's take about a 5-minute break, and then we'll go into our new business. We'll call our meeting back to order. Okay, the next item on the agenda would be our new business. And the county manager has a short-term lease of property at the old prison site, request from the Board of Education.
Actually, the request came from some staff people, but I had notified Dr. Williams about it. He had no problem with it. The lease would last from May 15th of this year to September 15th, and it would hold the county harmless for any problems that might occur on it. Any improvements that would be done on the property would be the responsibility of the Board of Education and staff. And anything else besides that, they'd have to sign off for me, and of course I'd notify you all too. The purpose of the lease is a temporary practice field for high school and middle school football and soccer teams. The current football field will be redone basically, and they have a kind of a peak in the middle of the field, and that needs to be redone. The field's kind of flattening out, and they need to have it re-sodded, and that was their plan this summer. And that's going to run right on up to football season, and practice starts off August 1st, and they needed some time to fix this property for their use, and then give them a little time on into August for the practice. So that's the reason for the May 15th to September 15th time frame. And if you would agree, I'd ask Pitt to put together a lease for this time frame with these conditions.
And it's where is it exactly located? This is very hard to figure out.
Yeah, it's,
Is it blocked out there?
Is that blocked with vehicle?
it's along the, as you're looking at it this way, along the left side, there is mostly a fence there. It's an open field on the back side, and on the right side, it's surrounded by woods. And there is a little parking area on the end of it that says 205 on the first part of it there. And it's right back and to the right of the facility that the county is going to use for storage.
It's where the old softball field was for the prison?
Yes.
It's grass.
That's
It'd been easier to just say that.
Where the garden was, the prison garden.
Yes, that's correct, right by the old, in fact, that fence is still there.
Okay.
On top of this, isn't there a request, maybe you may not have received it yet, for a youth shooting range to be put down there?
Yeah, that's another issue though. Yeah, but you're right, there is to come later, you're exactly right.
I move we go forward with this.
Second motion.
All right, so motion is second, can we move forward with approving the lease, short-term lease with the school? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Good luck with the mosquitoes. Tight back there.
They'll be running so fast.
Oh, yeah. The young blood, they'll love it.
Next item is Dawn Horton's request for a resolution regarding the World War II coastwise merchant mariners. I believe all of you have the packets, the request. Mr. Horton sent each one of us an email. I think you all recall getting that. And we did address it in one of our other meetings, and I thought that we did approve support of that. I don't ever recall that resolution coming before us. I don't have the record, but this is quite a lengthy resolution. There are a number of findings, which certainly I'm not able to validate. I just think that they're probably true, but there are a number of findings, and based on the findings, we've been asked to issue this resolution requesting congressional action. On the last page, it says, the following actions are recommended. Initiate congressional actions to provide sufficient response to support merchant mariners, provisions of H.R. 2189, with wording intact to ensure all coastwise barge and tugboat mariners who served during World War II, regardless of age, gender, or disability, are recognized as veterans in accordance with or similar to court ruling via Smocher, Wilner, and others. The Secretary of the Air Force, Edward C. Aldrich, Jr., 665F, Supply 41, DCC 1987, granting veteran status. And now therefore be it resolved that the Gates County Board of Commissioners hereby supports the efforts on behalf of the World War II coastwise merchant mariners and urges our representatives in the Senate and the House to pass legislation to approve the above findings and recommendations. Adopted this 5th day, should be 7th day. So we can make that correction if possible. Again, but that would be what we would be supporting.
Mr. Chair, and I know everybody's seen this, and you were right, we did pass a resolution.
Oh, we approved, I thought we approved.
Well, it says here on this piece of paper, we have
Has
yes,
yes, yeah.
it has a yes beside our name, that we had approved it, so I don't. I was a little confused, what do we need to do? Is it the proclamation is what he wants us to
Right,
approve?
he wants us to sign the proclamation.
We had already approved our support, or given our support to it. I know, maybe how we,
And I don't believe that, I never saw a resolution that we signed, but we did authorize approval.
and they must have received it because they had a yes by our name.
And must just be missing the signature. You reckon that brought it all up again?
And just authorize chairman to sign the proclamation.
I make that motion.
Second.
Motion is second, that we approve the proclamation, have it signed. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay? All right. Next item, the proposed amendment to the Gates County water billing policy. Now, a number of us have had emails, probably phone calls, due to water cutoff. I think we might have something here.
Yes, sir. I have 3 proposals for your consideration. The first one is a number of customers having trouble adapting to the current billing policy. That one thing that can be done is to have a call list put together on the date of the late penalty. And for a small fee, a robocall tape message can be sent to available phone numbers reminding them of the cutoff date. And the county also can use Code Red for this public purpose also. The second item is you may want to consider rewarding good customers with a rollover of their bill. If a customer has a perfect record for the previous 12 months of paying their water bill and their payment is not made, roll over the bill to the next month with the late fee still due. And the third item that I've added is delay cutoffs from 5 days after the due date to 10 days after the due date, and the county can adapt to that with our billing procedure.
Can I ask a question? How hard is it for record keeping purposes to know if someone has a perfect record for 12 months?
It's not.
Okay. I didn't know.
I think that, you know, if we've got a customer who's paying their bill for 12 months, and all of a sudden, you know, you got a late fee and you cut the water off, it behooves us, there may be something, they'll lost the bill, and we made a change, something's happened, and we hate to penalize good customers.
I was just getting at how, from a bureaucratic standpoint, how hard it is to keep track.
We can find that easy.
Okay.
Do we currently have the ability to press a button for that type of report?
Diane is working with our software company to make sure, but we have just upgraded our software recently, and we have a much broader range of reports, and we can create our own reports, so this should not be an issue. And honestly, one of the biggest complaints we get is, I've never been late with my bill, can't you just one time waive this fee? And this would take that into account. That is one of the biggest complaints that we've gotten.
The robocall, normally before we put the new policy in place, we had an average of monthly cutoffs of about, what, 30 or less?
I think it started at 100 or more, and the ladies would call the people for whom we had phone numbers. We don't have phone numbers for everybody in the system. A lot of people won't give us their phone number, and they would work hard to make those calls to whittle that number down. A lot of people would come in the next morning and pay before they knew the meter readers wouldn't go out before 10 o'clock, so they'd show up the next morning. So we were actually cutting off, I believe, probably 30 to 40. Doesn't that sound about right, Renee? On a good month?
It was probably a little bit more than that.
So, you know, obviously this last month has been a little tougher and we've worked through them, but I think notifying people, you're still going to have the same people that we've discussed that are just chronically late and we chronically have in the system, but for the people that, you know, had thought they mailed the check, it didn't get here, those are the people, you know, that this would help, or that they thought they paid the bill, or didn't realize the bill was due, they didn't get the bill in the mail, and I think this will make a difference. If we can get the phone numbers. I know Diane is working with Building Wind to see if the Code Red system will work for this, or how it will work for this, if we can make that work well.
All right, we've got 3 proposals to amend our water billing policy to better accommodate the needs of customers and citizens. What is the pleasure of the board?
I move we accept the recommendations.
All right.
Second.
All right, then moving second, we accept the recommendations presented by the county manager. All in favor, aye? Aye. All opposed, nay. Okay.
It'd be interesting to track this and see if this helps.
It will be. What kind of effective date are you thinking about for these changes? Do we want to?
If y'all don't mind, can you make an effective date? Is June 1 or too early?
No, we can, I don't know that we can get the robocalls in place for June. We can certainly try. Yeah, June 1 I think would be good. We can obviously, the third one, you know, that's just a matter of us, we can start that one immediately if we want to do that with the May bills. The first 2 are going to take some coordination, and we may want to make those June 1st and maybe make the third one May 1st. immediately.
Mr. Billy, is that okay?
If you can update your amendment
I'm sorry.
for the record, your motion to June 1 implementation. And I think June 1 would cover it all.
As you said, we're going to do June 1 for all of them, where C could be done immediately.
Well, May 1 is already gone.
Can we just make C immediately? Because we've got bills that are going out this week,
Okay.
and I think that would make it
All right,
easier.
all right. Commissioner Pelton, if you're all right with updating,
Sure.
amending your motion to make item C immediate and the other two items effective June 1.
Sure.
All right?
I'll second that again.
Second, all in favor, aye? Aye. All opposed, nay. Okay. All right. Next item.
Citizen comment?
Now, you know, the funding for REBA?
Oh, wait,
Budget
you got a
amendment.
budget amendment.
Yes,
there.
sir, the budget amendment.
Budget amendment, yes.
And I apologize, I emailed you all an amendment earlier this week, and after I'd already emailed that, Reba brought back the corrected version that you should have had at the table today. It was only $90 difference, so I didn't send it back out. And basically what's happened is she has received additional funding from this grant. And because our purchasing cutoff is the end of May, we needed to get this to you all to give her time to spend this money. If we don't spend this money, she has to send it back. So I apologize for the short notice, but her email was dated April 28th. We've received an additional $4,990 that she wants to put into her travel line for this program. There are no county dollars, there's no county match dollars, all the match is in kind. So it would be a net zero change to the budget.
I make a motion that we approve the budget amendment.
Second. All right, motion is second, and we approve budget amendment number 33, I believe it is.
Yes, sir.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Thank you. Okay, are there any other? If there are not, our next item will be citizen comments. We don't have any.
Mr. Jordan, could I say something? This was something I had mentioned to Sandy a while back. I was having to go back through the minutes to find something. I can't even remember now what I was looking for. And actually ran across when action was taken as far as the water policy was concerned when we ran the water lines down Roundtree Road. And I mentioned that to Sandy as not being part of this policy that's now in place governing the water. And it makes it's not addressed at all in the current policy, but yet this other is still out there, and basically it's buried in the commissioner's minutes. And if something comes up later down the road, and I guess I'm saying this because of all the turnover that the county has had, and I'm going back a ways here. There are things that are done to, changes that are made to policies that are buried in the commissioner's minutes that are really never brought forward and put in those policies. And then later down the road, someone new comes in and they decide they want something done. And so then here comes another policy, and this one's never even thought about anymore. And it really, and I guess over the last number of years, it seems like everything that's done, a policy is put in place. And we're sitting here with a zillion policies right now, but there are still things buried within those commissioners' minutes that should be part of those policies that administrations going forward are never going to know that are there.
It's interesting because on one of these papers, there was a report from an old minutes of the commissioners, and there was something about policy that they had
Back to
adopted.
2009.
So,
I
2009.
mean, I have sat in, over my years here in many meetings, to hear a board bring something up, and it's like, hey, wait a minute. You know, you've already got this in play, what are you gonna do with this?
And every time we do a policy, it should be put in that policy book. Don't we have a notebook, or
Yes,
you don't have a notebook?
we have an ordinance book.
I think a lot of things and all the turnover we've had, there's just not a good follow-through with things as to things being updated and getting where they need to go. And that's just like there's been changes with personnel policy that never get to the department heads. We don't get updates of those changes. We used to, we don't get updates of those changes. There are just a lot of things that are done that just never, the follow-through isn't there as far as it getting to the employees or department heads where it needs to go.
Procedures, man.
Renee, on that same topic, the new ABC store is coming up now. I think everything is in place now and been approved. But the information was brought to me this past week that the people in charge of doing this construction or bringing forth the money to do this construction said they have never worked in a county that it was so difficult to get things moved.
I can believe that, because right now, and especially with the planning and zoning part of things, nobody knows who's doing what. I mean, that's the honest truth, and I don't mean to be rude, but nobody knows who's doing what.
I know that property was rezoned back in the fall before I came on the board.
Renee,
But then when they went for the permit.
my comments for closed session addresses that.
And I know I had sent an email to Mr. Winley and Mr. Jordan the other day in reference, we had talked about getting the zoning codes on our parcel records. Well, we're not sure at this point how long it's really been since the GIS has even been updated with zoning changes.
Maybe 6 years.
And we're not, in all honesty, I'm not really sure you've got a current official zoning map anywhere.
Probably not, because I had one when I was on the board, but there's been changes made since then.
There's one here, it's probably not been updated.
Well, that's, and it's gonna be a matter of going back through the records to pull these things out.
Well, basically what you're talking about is something that can be done when a new planner comes on board, and the board is gonna be considering that at budget time to reinstate that
Just,
position.
there really needs to be a good flow of things and where the information, when things are done, where the information needs, who it needs to go to, who's responsible for this and who's responsible for
I
that.
think we can fix that today. I think one of the things we need to task the county manager and our clerk to do is after every meeting, in your following report, we need an action item list from this meeting. How many action items we have in this meeting? I know we have the animal control. And every item we've addressed and made approval should be an action item that's brought before us in our next meeting. Said what the status is.
Date of completion.
Date of completion. So if we,
And it just keeps moving forward until it has the date of completion checked off.
and that's the consensus of the board. As county manager, we would like to task them to have an action item from each meeting as part of what is going forward.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay, that solves the problems from here in the
Here
future,
forward.
but there is the past, and some of this goes back to 2008, 7. I mean, how do we?
I know there's that one thing that I had ran across the other day that definitely needs to be at least mentioned in the current policy as to where it is in the minutes or, you know, included in it. As, you know, that just,
We've got some known properties that's not updated. I think Mercer Mill Pond is one of them. We might have some issues there. But those that we know about, and we can have we can task someone to review the minutes, to see from the last couple of years, see how many zoning authorizations were made, and just balance that against, give that list to you.
I may can contact Atlas Geographic Data. I don't know how, what kind of records they keep as far as changes to see exactly what was the last zoning change they received from us, if they know when that time
At
frame was.
least something we can do administratively, we don't have to drag this meeting out, you and I can work on that.
See if we can figure that out.
But it's not just zoning policies that are,
No, it's not just, it's an overall,
mhm.
Yes,
thing that I think needs to be thought about and looked at.
You know, take up that.
Yeah, I can think of one since I've been coming to the meeting. Shirley Grimes is, unless it's changed, is our representative to Raleigh for the seniors. And Ellie Smith is the second one, but Shirley's a voting member, so she gets reimbursement. And they couldn't discuss and decide why that was supposed to be, but that had been brought up
I
previously.
remember when that was brought up.
For the record, just the name,
So,
the station, the name for the record.
oh, I'm sorry, Anna Beasley.
Yeah. Okay. All right, thank you. All right, that's something we need to look at. And,
I just have no idea what year.
you don't have nothing to do.
Sorry
Okay.
about that.
All right, there are no other citizens' comments. We'll have our commissioner comments.
Something to that, Mr. Vice. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank the community for support in yesterday's election, and I'd like to congratulate all the winners, and just look forward to a new term as county commissioner. And I want to remind everyone that we need to hear from them. We can be contacted during the week, and bring your concerns to the board. And thank everyone again.
Well, once again, thank you for coming and listening to the business of the county. Also, congratulations to the winners and all the candidates who ran. Competition is a good thing, and it's important. I'm a little disappointed with the turnout, but on an off-year election, the turnout generally is not high. I think we need to do a better job maybe encouraging our neighbors and friends and family to get out to vote, because that's where your voice is heard. But thank you for coming, and this weekend is Mother's Day. Those of you who have mothers, be sure to celebrate with them. Those of you who don't, you can remember your mothers.
Yes, thank everyone for coming, and speaking of the election too, that was very good to see the people that did come out, whether it was 23, 28% or something like that. But we had several races that are very close, and it just shows how important it is for everyone to get out to vote.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. I too thank everyone for coming and being here today.
Oh, I have a quick question. My name is Ashley Taylor. Has anything changed on the number of private homes can be placed on an unpaved road?
I guess it falls under subdivision. As long as the land acreages and subdivision zoning requirements are met, I don't think that, it's based on what's allowed based on zoning.
So nothing has changed?
There's no limit on whether the road is paved or not, has nothing to do with it.
Well, the reason I asked was, it's where I'm located, there was a rule stating that the previous owner tried to make it a subdivision, and the number of homes that could be placed on it at the time was 5. I was just wondering, had that changed?
That's probably limited by road frontage, not particular.
Road frontage?
Or the acreage.
And
175
that
feet.
could have been some ordinances specific to that subdivision.
Yeah.
That you might need to go back and check. They should have been recorded in the register of deeds
But I thought
office.
that the road was already laid out, everything was there, just because it was unpaved, that the limit was placed on it.
Could be,
That may be something
at the current time,
specific.
it could have also be whether he applied for minor or major subdivision. There has been a change to.
I
There
think-
has been a change about if it's a certain size, about that the developer has to pave roads I mean, no, you have to bring the road up to standards of DOT.
Correct. That's the way it was written originally, yes. So nothing has changed.
That part is, the road is not changed.
No, the road's not changed.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay, thanks again, everyone coming, and happy Mother's Day to all mothers. I do have one comment that I want to make the commissioners aware of, is that I received a letter from one of our citizens, wanting to make the board aware that a complaint has been submitted to the chief clerk at the North Carolina Utilities Commission regarding docket number SP 3353, sub-0, and it's for the application of the Sunbury McCoyleen Solar Farm LLC. The citizen's name, I will let you all see it.
Have we heard about a?
A solar farm.
Oh, yeah,
we approved it.
but I didn't think it was on McCord Lane. I thought it was down there by the John Deere place.
That's what I thought.
Those areas at the John Deere place, it was something with the soil types and whatnot, they were not able to use them.
Okay. There was something advertised in the index about a solar thing, you know, I brought it to your attention that we had never heard of. But that was in the Ewer area. Wasn't that near Mrs. B's?
That's Rose Farm.
Is this, could
They're
this
supposed to come,
possibly,
they'll be coming before y'all, before long.
could
Okay, I
this-
saw the ad in the paper.
this possibly be that this gentleman noticed somebody checking some soil samples or something out there? Has there been any application made?
Not you.
Right, but the purpose is to make the board aware, if we hear something or something comes your way, that we are aware of it, that a complaint has been filed. And as far as the solar farm, I think that is something that's been approved, but whether or not it was acceptable for where it was approved to be located, I don't, you know.
Y'all did make the change where they can be put in an A1 zone, you did make that change.
All right,
So this application has not come before us?
on the application, the request to have a solar farm constructed has come before us.
I know the one down in Brandon, John Deere.
John Deere place, but this is not John Deere place.
This is
Yeah,
a different.
There's been, I don't think there's been, Ken says there hasn't been an application. I would think that he probably knows that maybe they're looking at some land near his house. and he's
So we have not seen
Okay.
this,
No.
because this is on, that's on 158, this is on 32, off 32.
They're probably looking for a new location. He's been made aware of it, most likely.
But they are looking for another location because I have a family member that's kind of involved with it and they have talked with them. But the two locations they had looked at the John Deere, around the John Deere area,
Didn't work.
something with the soil types or something.
Lighton Street Road, I
That
think was one of the
So they
places.
are looking.
I think they checked on that first, on solar.
A firm that big, I would have thought so.
All right,
But I think there are a lot of people going around the countryside looking for properties with solar, they, you know.
Some to purchase and then sell it to someone.
Yeah.
I will, you talking about this, a couple of weeks ago, I participated in a webinar from the school of government in reference to solar farms, zoning and so forth. That was very interesting. And they do have the handbook available that you can print out. It's a free handbook in reference to zoning and solar farms on the SOG site, you know, that you'd like to print out. And it was very interesting.
There's a large one that I go by pretty often, on Highway 158, outside of Murfreesboro. I have not stopped to listen for noise because a complaint addresses potential noise. And I'll do that. I'll do that this week.
There's no noise.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
I was involved in that.
You were?
Okay.
Okay.
There's no noise there.
Okay, good. That's good to know.
all right. There's nothing else, we will have that, Alyssa, we'd like to have that letter filed in our solar farm folder, whatever records we got, and we'll have that there as
So we don't have a folder, make a folder.
Or scan it in a electronic folder, however you want to do it. You know. All right, if there's nothing else, we'll call for a motion to go into closed session in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11, 83, 4, and 5.
Could we have a little short break, or do we need to go out?
We need to do the motion.
Right. I make a motion, we go into closed session.
Second.
All right. Motion second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay.
Move to come out of closed session.
Second.
Motion second, come out of closed session. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, the first item we have is to authorize the submission of a preliminary application to the Department of Commerce by the county manager and chairman for Sunbury.
Chair, I move that we submit that application, preliminary application.
I second.
The motion second, we submit the preliminary application. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay. All right, there's no other discussion, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Thank you.
See y'all at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.